Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Dark Desert Highway, here with my son,
Micah from Micah Smurzynski.
and
I'm so happy to be here.
today we're going to read from the Good and Evil book. You can find it at goodandevilbook.com. It's a comic book Bible for kids, but it's really great animated book full of good stories, and today we are on chapter 4, the Exodus.
We have not done the Bible study in a very long time.
But we're here now. So, chapter 4, page 1. They followed until they came into the mountains and up against the Red Sea. There they camped while they discussed how they were going to get across the vast body of water. After Pharaoh grieved for his child, his anger increased hotter than ever. Why did he let his slaves leave? Ready the chariots, pursue the Hebrews, bring them back or kill them all. It will be as you say, your majesty. Look, the Egyptian army is coming. We are trapped in this wilderness. Moses brought us out here to die. It was better to live as a slave than die in this God-forsaken place.
There is nothing God can do to save us now. We have the mountains on. Oh wait. When the Egyptians saw the helpless Hebrews and remembered the suffering Moses had caused Egypt, they were ready to kill. We have the mountains on our sides and the water before us. We are trapped.
Oops.
Stand where you are. God will save us in a mighty way. God has hardened Pharaoh's heart one more time. After today, you will never again see the Egyptian army. When it looked as if the Egyptian army would rush upon the Hebrews, suddenly a large column of fire came down from the heaven and blocked their way. During that night, the Hebrews had light, but the Egyptians were in thick darkness.
Moses lifted his staff over the sea, and a great wind came from heaven, blowing upon the sea, and the sea parted, leaving a dry path on the bottom of the sea floor. It was a most magnificent miracle. The children of Israel walked across the sea on dry ground. In the future, they would sing about a God who made paths in the sea. Everyone would know that there is but one God, and his name is Jehovah. This beats anything we saw in Egypt. Wow, our God is the best God of all. We are in the middle of the sea. Josiah, are you crazy? Get away from there. You know you can't swim.
I just want to touch the pretty fish.
Speak up.
When the Hebrews were nearly across, God withdrew the wall of fire that had been holding back the Egyptians. That have been holding the Egyptians back. They had not seen the sea part. And so they raced right after the Hebrews. Forward! Kill the Hebrews! Good page. Today you have seen the power of Jehovah. Look, the water is returning. They will all be drowned. Yes, we are free. Every Egyptian soldier drowned in the sea. Their gods of wood and stone could not save them.
Look at all the bodies. The sea is filled with the dead Egyptian soldiers. Surely Jehovah is the only Lord God. There was no other who could do such a thing. We will remember this day forever. Leaving the sea and the dead Egyptian army behind, the Hebrew children followed Moses and the cloud into the vast wilderness. They continued to eat and drink that which they had carried out of Egypt. After several days' journey, the clouds that led them stopped by wells of water. The Hebrews camped there until the food ran out. There was no place to get more. It looked hopeless. We could have stayed in Egypt and lived better than this. As slaves, we had enough to eat. Here, there is nothing. Yeah, did you bring us out here to die of hunger?
Listen to me. You are not complaining against me, but against the God whom we follow. Jehovah says he will rain down bread from heaven. Every morning you will find it covering the ground.
Speak up.
All you have to do is pick it up and eat it. What did Moses say? How will we get food? The children are starving. He says that Jehovah is going to rain down bread from heaven every morning. It is about time for the sun to come up. Do you believe there will be bread on the ground like Moses said? We will starve if there is not. Have you ever heard of bread falling from the sky? No, but I never heard of a path through the sea either. This God of Moses must be the creator of the universe. I don't suppose it is too hard for him to make bread fall from the sky. Come, it is time. Let's go look.
Bread from heaven, just like he said. Why do we ever doubt? Look, it is everywhere. Oh, it is delicious. It tastes like honey. Truly, Jehovah is God, and Moses is his prophet. As long as they were in the wilderness, God fed them with the heavenly food of angels. As long as the cloud stood over their camp, the Hebrews stayed by the springs of water and ate the heavenly bread. But when the cloud began to move, they packed their tents and followed it into the unknown wilderness.
But there came a time when they ran out of water. So he gave us bread, but now he will kill us with thirst. Not true. My little girl will die if we don't have water soon. We should have stayed in Egypt. In another day all our animals will be dead, and after that the children will begin to die. We should bash your head with stones. Is God with us or not? I will go and talk to Jehovah. God told Moses what to do. Come and see the power of Jehovah. You do not believe him. You gripe and complain.
He gave you bread, and now he gives you water out of this barren rock. Whack! Ah! The water flowed like a river.
Again, the cloud moved, and the Hebrews packed up and followed it into the wilderness to a mountain called Sinai.
Sit up. Sinai.
There Moses prayed, and God spoke to him again. Remind them that all I did unto the Egyptians, of how I delivered them, fed them, and gave them water from a rock.
Tell them that if they will obey my commandments, they will be my special people above all other nations on the face of the earth. If they obey, they will be a kingdom of priests. Moses, when I speak with you, I will come into a thick cloud so the people can see and hear and know that it is me. Moses came down off the mountain and told the people all that God had said. We will obey. We will do everything that God says. Then go wash your clothes and your bodies. Prepare yourselves to worship God. 3 days from now, God will visit you. As God commanded, on the third day, all the people gathered before the mountain to wait for God to speak. The strange cloud descended upon the mountain, and then Moses, come up on the mountain.
Come upon. Moses, I am the Jehovah God. That doesn't make sense. Which brought you out of the land of Egypt. When you go down, place fences around this mountain. If any of the other people touch this mountain, they will die. I will give you the 10 Commandments, which you must tell to the people.
Keep your voice up.
Have no other gods before me. Do not make for themselves idols. Do not take the name of God in vain. Keep the Sabbath day holy. I don't think anybody does that. Honor thy father and mother. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Adultery? What's that?
It's sleeping with somebody that's not your wife.
Isn't that just cheating? Because everybody does that.
Yeah.
Well, most people. Do not steal. I've done that before and I regret it. Do not bear false witnesses against your neighbors. I don't know what that means. Do not covet that which is your neighbor's.
So do not bear a false witness against your neighbors means don't lie about something that you saw your neighbors do, but they never did. So don't lie against your neighbor. And then do not covet, that's wanting something else that somebody has. So coveting is wanting something that somebody else has. So do not covet that which is your neighbor's.
I think many people do that. When Moses came down off the mountain, he gathered the 70 leaders of Israel. I'm just going to call it that. And told them of God's commandments. We will do them. They are good commandments. You 70 men are to return to the mountain with me. God will meet you there, and he did.
As he did
me. You will see for yourself. But first I must write in a book the commandments God spoke to me.
Go ahead.
Moses was careful to write everything just as God had spoken it. The Spirit of God helped him not to make any mistake.
When Moses was finished writing the words, he gathered the people together and read the words of God to them. All that God has said is good, and we will obey it. So the nation of Israel made a covenant with God. He would bless them, give them life, and deliver them from their enemies. And they would be obedient to all his commandments, walking in righteousness. God commanded Moses to offer a blood sacrifice and to sprinkle the people with blood. All were sinners, deserving of death, even Moses and Aaron. But God was merciful. He provided a way of escape.
By killing the innocent lamb, that's sad, and sprinkling the blood on the nation, that's weird, God would cover their sins and not kill them as they deserved. The lamb that did not deserve death died in the place of many who were sinners deserving of death. Now that your sins are covered, you 70 will go with me up on the mountain, and you will see the glory of God. So the 70 elders of Israel followed Moses into the mountain where God had spoken to Moses. Suddenly before them appeared the throne of God, the glory of God.
The 70 elders watched as Moses went into the mountain and was lost in the shining glory of God. Such beauty and glory! There is no man like Moses that speaks with God face to face. Moses, you will have the people build a tabernacle in which to worship me. It will have an altar on which to offer sacrifices, and a holy place where I can meet with the high priest once a year throughout all your generations. I will tell you exactly how to make the tabernacle. The tribe of Levi shall be my priests, and Aaron and his sons after him. They will be the high priests. They shall teach the people to be righteous, and they will offer sacrifices when the people sin. It was weeks ago that he disappeared into the fire on that mountain. He must be dead by now. Yeah, we can't sit here in the wilderness forever. We need a God to lead us as Moses did. Let us make a golden image unto our God.
No.
Moses is dead. Aaron will make us a god of gold to lead us back into Egypt. Give us your gold.
No, never do that. That's just worshiping Satan.
That's worshiping idols.
And technically Satan.
Your turn.
With their own hands, the fools created a statue of a bull and called it God. The original image of Satan before he sinned was that of a bull.
Hey, look, you were right.
Yeah, I know. I've read this book a million times. I literally have it over there. The people didn't know it. Satan had inspired them to worship him. They all deserved to die. Aaron followed the wishes of the people and helped them build the god of gold. No. Aaron was so foolish. He knew that the image was not a god, but he was afraid of the people. Here is your God which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Tomorrow we will proclaim a great sacrifice and worship Jehovah. God had already commanded them not to make any image as an aid to worship, but they were following their own stupid imaginations. The people danced and made themselves naked. They got drunk and
Fornicated.
God was ready to destroy them all and send them to the fires and prepared for the devil and his angels.
Speak up.
God spoke to Moses and said, "Go down now. The people have committed a great sin. They have made themselves naked and dance before an idol. I should destroy them all. Their hearts are hard. They do not walk in righteousness." That's the page I hate the most.
Moses was angry when he saw that the people had forgotten God and made themselves an idol. You have broken the commandments of God. Moses broke the stone tablets on which the commandments were written. Did he not say to have no other gods but Jehovah? Can a statue that you make with your own hands be your creator? Moses smashed the golden calf and beat it into powder.
If you are on Jehovah's side, come and stand with me. If you would worship the gods of Egypt, then stay where you are. We will follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I would rather follow the God that parted the Red Seas, even if he does not have an image.
Make sure you speak up.
All of them shall die. The penalty for sin is death. That sounds brutal. Jehovah says they must die. Now take your sword and kill all those who use images as aids to worship.
3,000 idolaters and fornicators were killed that day. Slice! No, have mercy! Moses went up on the mountain, and once again God wrote the 10 Commandments on 2 tablets of stone. When Moses came back down, he showed the people the commandments of God, and they all agreed to obey him.
Good.
God says you are a hard-hearted and rebellious people. When you sinned, he told me he would slay all of you. But I prayed for you, and he is going to put away your sin. Jehovah is indeed merciful and forgiving.
Yes. God has given directions to build a
tabernacle.
That's... If we build it according to his specifications, he will meet with us there. Since we are all sinful, God has prepared a way whereby we can approach him. The Levites will offer blood sacrifices every day. one each year. The blood will be placed on the Ark of the
Covenant.
Covenant. When God sees the blood on the Ark, just as he did in Egypt, he will put away our sins and we will not die. It is God's way of forgiveness. Now, when the people worship Satan, I think that adds more sin.
Yeah, you can sin and then sin.
To
You can
their
have
sin
multiple
level.
sins. You're right. And so the tabernacle was completed, and the priests began to offer daily sacrifices. When God saw the faith of those who offered the blood of the animals, he put away their sins. But the people were not happy with their stay in the wilderness. They complained all the time. There came a day when their complaints and unbelief caused God to bring judgment upon them. Eek! Look, snakes! Lots of them! God prepared many poisonous snakes to enter the camp and seek out warm flesh. God is merciful, but he will not allow sin to continue forever. Soon the camp was filled with poisonous snakes.
God, help us! The snakes even found them in their tents at night. Help me, I've been bitten.
No! No, Joab, mother! Even the children suffered for the sins of their parents. From all over the camp, cries of the suffering and grieving could be heard. The wages of sin are terrible. It is like this all over the camp and growing worse by the minute. Many have already died. We must find Moses. Surely this is the work of God. He is angry at the people for their sins. You must talk to God. We deserve this punishment, but ask him to show mercy. When will the people learn that God is serious about sin? They must obey his commandments and be a holy nation. O God, please be merciful to your people. Forgive their sins.
Yep.
Go, make a serpent of brass, just like the ones biting the people. Place it on a pole for all of them to see. Tell them to simply look upon the brass serpent and they will instantly be healed.
God has provided a way. Just look at the brass serpent and you will be somehow magically healed. He is going to die. No, God has provided a way. Just open your eyes and look, and live.
Read normal.
It's a miracle. We must tell others. It worked for me. I will tell the others.
Look and live. Why do you tease him with false hope? Others have looked and been made whole. Can't you see I'm dying? Why do you bother me with such foolishness? He's dead. I'm sorry he wouldn't believe. He had a lot of pride. Once again, the people saw the power of God. The camp moved away from the serpents and life returned to normal. But the people continued to go their own ways, often failing to obey God's commandments.
Which is bad, and also there is still some serpents in the camp. The children of Israel followed the cloud. God fed them with manna from heaven and provided them water to drink. He would have led them into the promised land, but they were disobedient and would not obey his commandments. So God caused them to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. Some of them must have died from old age. Moses, you think you are the only one close to God? We are just as holy as you are. In fact, the entire congregation is holy. There are no sinners left among us, and God dwells among us. We don't need We don't need you and Aaron to go around telling us what to do and making yourself judges over us. We are
capable
of judging as well as you. Yeah, I am tired of all this wandering around in the desert with God killing us for trifle matters. Yeah, it's Moses' fault. His standards are too high. What do you mean? Moses went to the tabernacle. Moses went to the tabernacle and asked God what to do.
God has spoken. You take too much responsibility upon yourselves. You sons of Levi, you would have men become priests when God has not appointed them to be. Tomorrow the Lord will judge between us all, and we will know who are the priests of God, who is holy and who is not. Come to the tabernacle tomorrow morning. Bring your censers with fire in them. The next day, draw near, you who profess your holiness, you who would be priests and rule over the people. God will meet us here today, and he will choose. We will see his might and his glory.
Separate yourselves from these wicked people. Separate yourself from these wicked people, for I will kill them in a minute. Get away from these tents. Don't come near them, or you will die with them. I'm tired. Here is the test. If these men die a normal death, then you can know that I am a false prophet and that God does not speak through me. But if you see a new thing, and the earth opens up and swallows them, and all their belongings go down into the pit of hell, and then you will know that you have sinned against God, and that I am his prophet.
Read normal. Help ye, no! All the men who sought to be priests were swallowed up alive into the fires of hell, prepared for the devil and his evil angels. Pick up their brass censers and make of them a covering for the altar. When you see the brass covering on the altar, you will remember this day, when men ignored the commandments of God and sought to make themselves priests. That was a day the children of Israel would never forget. God made it clear that Moses was his prophet, and only those whom he had appointed could be priests. The glory of God is with us, and he gives us bread from heaven. The glory of God always stood over the tabernacle, and the people willingly followed Moses back and forth through the wilderness for 40 years. God continued to rain down bread from heaven, and he provided them with water out of the rock. The pillar of fire covered them by night, and the cloud by day. They settled down and learned to keep the commandments of God.
The priests attended to the tabernacle and offered daily sacrifices as Moses had commanded. After 40 years in the wilderness, just as everybody else was preparing to enter into the promised land, God called Moses up into the mountain there. After one final talk with God, he lay down and quietly died. How does somebody do that? Immediately his spirit was ushered into the presence of God. There he was to abide?
Yep.
Alright. Until the end of time, when he would again join his people in the land God had promised to Abraham.
Nearly 500 years had gone by since Jehovah God called Abraham to leave his people and walk to the land God would give him. God's promise to Abraham and Sarah to make a great nation from their son Isaac was fulfilled. The 12 sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, had become 12 tribes and a multitude of people. They came through slavery, wandered in the desert with Moses, received the law of God, and now at last were entering into the promised land. Throughout the wilderness journey, a young boy was always beside Moses, watching and learning how to lead the nation of Israel. That boy grew up to be the mighty warrior Joshua. After Moses went to be with God, Joshua was chosen by God to lead the people into the land God promised to Abraham. The people remembered the prophecy that they would be strangers in a strange land, and that after 400 years they would be brought back into the land of their fathers. God has kept his word.
One day they crossed the Jordan, the manna from heaven ceased. Keys makes more sense.
Ceased. It means it stopped.
Ceased, and they ate fresh food from the land. Oh, husband, this is a wonderful land God has given us. Yes, it is a fine place to raise our children and teach them to live in holiness and peace.
That's it. Next is chapter 5, the kingdom. Well, if you guys have made it this far, thanks for joining us. This is the comic book Bible, Good and Evil.
Yes, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to both of our channels. And also, you can buy this book at Walmart, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I found it at Walmart first.
And also, have fun, have a good day, like and subscribe.
See you later.
Stick up for more.